financial sector effectively owns itself. The biggest companies that they own them back.
Index at least steers a steady course.
We have short-term speculation. It's absolutely a loser's game.
When you think about passive, we can't sell a company as long as they're in the index.
Fees you earn if you're BlackRock increase when the market value of the...
BlackRock controls over $10 trillion, more than most countries, yet stays hidden in plain sight. From steering markets to influencing politics, their power runs deep. But behind the numbers lie darker theories, secret deals, elite ties, and global manipulation. Are these just conspiracies or uncomfortable truths? The shadow government theory. You ever wonder who's really running the world? Some folks don't think it's presidents or prime ministers. They think it's BlackRock. With nearly $10 trillion in assets under management, BlackRock isn't just another Wall Street firm. It's the Wall Street firm. Conspiracy theorists argue that BlackRock is the hidden hand pulling the strings in governments worldwide. They cite examples like the company's close relationship with the Federal Reserve during the 2008 financial crisis and again during the 2020 COVID bailout. In both instances, BlackRock was contracted to buy assets on behalf of the government, essentially giving it authority over major economic decisions. Critics say this gives the company way too much power with zero accountability. Think about it. A private firm dictating which companies live or die. That's not democracy. That's economic dictatorship. The BlackRock Vanguard connection. Now let's throw Vanguard into the mix. Together, BlackRock and Vanguard own sizable shares in nearly every major US company. Apple, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, JP Morgan, you name it.
Universal ownership refers to holding shares in the entire universe of firms listed on the stock market. The big three asset managers, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, hold a sizable but still relatively small stake in all listed corporations.
Some conspiracy circles call this the duopoly of control. The claim? These two giants have a financial interest in almost everything. That includes competing companies, which means they're on both sides of the chessboard. So if BlackRock and Vanguard have influence in every direction, what's stopping them from shaping policy, controlling narratives, or even pricing strategies? That's the scary part. Nothing really. No laws prevent them from influencing how companies behave.
In all likelihood, the single largest shareholder in that company. That's why, for example, in a lot of academic studies, 5% is taken as a threshold for control. There's almost no difference between Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street, and even a bunch of other asset managers in terms of their business model. So then you can start and wonder, okay, so if the big three together hold 25% of the shares in any individual company, then you're definitely above the threshold.
And when the media, big tech, big pharma, and even defense contractors are in your portfolio, people start asking uncomfortable questions. ESG and the ideological grip. Enter ESG, environmental, social, and governance investing. Sounds noble, right? Save the planet, be socially responsible, all that jazz. But some conspiracists argue BlackRock uses ESG like a leash, forcing companies to toe a certain ideological line or risk losing funding. That's where the woke capitalism theory comes in. Detractors say BlackRock isn't just pushing green energy. They're pushing a global agenda disguised as morality. There's even more suspicion because BlackRock's CEO, Larry Fink, openly promotes forcing behaviors in corporations through ESG scores. In America, that smells a lot like social engineering. Critics say it's a backdoor attempt to sidestep voters and impose values from the top down. Want access to capital? Better play nice with BlackRock's rulebook. The BlackRock China Pipeline. Let's pivot to China. While US firms are pulling out of Chinese markets due to human rights abuses and geopolitical risks, BlackRock has doubled down. In 2021, it became the first foreign company to get approval from Beijing to operate a wholly owned mutual fund business in China. That cozy relationship has raised eyebrows across the aisle. Conspiracy theorists believe BlackRock's ties to China may be deeper than just business. Some argue it's helping Beijing gain economic influence in the West, especially through passive investments. Others claim this relationship could compromise national security, considering how interconnected finance and data have become. Is BlackRock prioritizing profits over patriotism? Depends on who you ask, but the questions are getting louder. BlackRock's AI and Aladdin system. Now let's talk about the Aladdin system. BlackRock's ultra-powerful risk analysis platform. It controls around $21 trillion worth of assets, analyzing markets, predicting trends, and even guiding investment decisions for governments and pension funds. Some have called it the brain of the financial world. Sounds impressive until you realize Aladdin knows more about the economy than most nations' treasuries do. That much insight and the potential to act on it freaks people out. What if Aladdin is used to manipulate markets? Or worse, to destabilize competitors? With AI-driven decision-making and almost limitless access to global financial data, the theory goes that BlackRock could tip the scales anytime, anywhere, and no one would see it coming. Real estate and the housing squeeze. You've probably heard people blame hedge funds and investors for the sky-high cost of living. Well, guess what? BlackRock's been accused of helping price Americans out of their own neighborhoods. The theory is that BlackRock, through various subsidiaries, buys up entire blocks of homes, offering above-market prices to edge out individual buyers. Why? To convert them into rental properties and profit off long-term passive income. Critics say this trend is creating a landlord nation where every day Americans can no longer afford to own homes. Instead, they pay rent to corporations. Conspiracy-minded folks say this is part of a larger agenda: take away property ownership, increase dependence, and centralize wealth in fewer hands. It's not just economic, it's cultural warfare. BlackRock in the White House? You know what really sets off conspiracy radars? When former BlackRock execs land high-level government jobs. Think about it. Brian Dees, former head of ESG at BlackRock, became Biden's top economic advisor. Adewale Wale Adeyemo, another BlackRock alum, took the number, 2 roles at the US Treasury. Coincidence? Maybe. But for many, it feels like the fox is in the henhouse. Skeptics say this revolving door between BlackRock and Washington creates a loop of influence where the firm writes policies that benefit its portfolio. If true, that's not democracy, it's corporatocracy. And it makes people wonder, when the government makes a move, is it acting for the people or just following Larry Fink's playbook? Media control and narrative steering. BlackRock doesn't directly own news outlets, but it owns shares in companies that do, like Comcast, NBC, Disney, ABC, and AT&T, CNN. That's enough to set off alarm bells. The theory here is subtle but potent. If you influence the parent companies, you influence what gets reported, and more importantly, what doesn't. Some believe BlackRock helps control the news cycle by quietly nudging companies to promote certain angles, whether that's economic fear, ESG support, or political division. After all, controlling the narrative helps protect investments. If you're betting big on green energy, wouldn't you want headlines scaring people off oil? The power to shape public opinion through financial pressure is real and chilling. The digital currency plot. One of the more recent conspiracies links BlackRock to the coming era of central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. The fear? That BlackRock is quietly advising governments on how to roll out digital money, ushering in a future where every transaction is tracked and financial freedom becomes a thing of the past. Critics argue that BlackRock's influence in digital payment infrastructure gives it too much control over the future of money. Imagine a world where cash is obsolete and a corporation helps decide whether you get access to credit based on your ESG score or social profile. Sounds like sci-fi? Maybe, but plenty of Americans are watching closely. Is BlackRock just a financial titan or something far more dangerous? Like, subscribe and tell us what you believe is really going on.